So YouTube's got a 10-minute limit, so I didn't want to hit 10 minutes and then have to start all of this all over. So here we are in part 2. So once I convinced Brooke that it was okay to have surgery in Mexico, and she was on obesityhelp.com and still is. Her username is Serena7051 if you want to look her up and track her progress. And I think mine is Blanton A, B-L-A-N-T-O-N-A. And you can kind of see there, I don't keep it up to date as much as I should because I'm always busy and I'm always doing things, but that is definitely where we found most of our information about Mexico, Dr. Hoya, a lot of Dr. Hoya's patients. You'll find really good information here on YouTube from people like Magunar Bar and Free to Be Me for Life, and there are many others. And I'm sure searching around just like I did when I first started looking, you will find tons of great information of personal experiences from VSG surgery. So once we decided that we were going to do it, the first thing to do was to send a down payment to Gerald. It was a wire transfer from my bank, Bank of America, to his bank in Texas, Bank of America. And basically what the deposit is, for us it was $1,000 per surgery, and that covers your airfare basically from wherever, because at that time that's when he books your airline tickets and sends you that confirmation, and everything's done from that point. And then you're just waiting for your surgery day. So for me, waiting for my surgery day was several months because I chose to start this process several months before I had the time and funds available to go ahead and do it. So I spent a lot of time on Obesity Help. I spent a lot of time on YouTube finding out everything that I needed to know. So once we got to the date, we packed everything up, and I'm going to go through with the needs to have and needs to don't have, what to take with you and what not here in just a second. But basically we got on the plane leaving out of Atlanta. That's where we live. American Airlines flight took us to Dallas. We got on another plane in Dallas, and then that took us to Puerto Vallarta. It was about 8 o'clock their time, 9 o'clock our time, and it was real easy. We got off the plane, we went through customs. Make sure you have a pen on the airplane so you can fill out your customs forms. Everything's in Spanish too, which makes it a little bit difficult to get that done, but it's pretty easy. It's how many people are in your party, you know, where are you staying, I think, and a couple of other simple questions about you. So once we got there, it was already laid out to us. Gerald will email you a patient handbook that basically goes through everything. But once you get to the airport, you go through customs, you get your bags, and then you walk through, out of the airport, you walk through like a ton of tourist leeches, and they try to stop you and ask you where you're staying, and they try to sell you tours and things like that. Just keep walking all the way until you see a guy holding your name up on a sign. And that's where you stop and you say, that's who I am, and he'll take you to a cab, and you'll get in the cab, he'll take your luggage, and he'll drive you to the NH Crystal Hotel, or I think if you're telling someone there you say Cristal, because that's how they pronounce it. It's easier for them to recognize where you're going. So once we got to the hotel, they take your bags out, they put them right out by the curb, you go check in, which is simply, hi, I'm one of Dr. Hoya's patient, my name is, and then they have an envelope ready to hand you that has instructions from Natalie, who is Dr. Hoya's assistant and also nutritionalist, who it basically said, you know, welcome, here's some money for a cab to take you to the hospital, hand him this paper, it has the hospital's name on it, and also here's instructions on what time to be there. For us, they said to be there at 9 o'clock. So we went to our room and we slept and got up the next morning. We paid extra. I think it was about $25 or $28 a night to have an oceanfront balcony. I heard a lot of people say that that's the thing to do, and it certainly on the back end after surgery was very beneficial. I don't think on the front end it really would have mattered that much because we got there at night and left in the morning, so it really, I don't know if it was that beneficial to do it the first night. But we also had Brooke's parents and our son with us, so they had already checked in that day to their room, which was also oceanfront, so we just had a room next to them. But And you can certainly do that through Dr. Hoya. He booked our airfare for our son and booked the hotel for the in-laws so that everything was all kosher. Alright, so once we got there, I set my alarm clock for like 7 o'clock the next morning so we could get up, take a shower, kind of pack our things together for the hospital and get ready to go. Unfortunately, I set it for our time, not their time, so I ended up getting up at like 6 in the morning, which was before sunrise. But we're so excited about that day being surgery day, we didn't go back to sleep. We got up, we walked out on the balcony, and you'll see on my pictures, the real dark pictures with cruise ships and things. Those are the cruise ships are coming in to dock in Puerto Vallarta for the day. And that was really pretty to see the sunrise come up over the mountains on the left-hand side of our balcony. So it was real pretty using the balcony that morning to see all the things coming in. But once it's all said and done, we packed our luggage up and put it in our in-laws' room. If you're coming by yourself or just with a spouse, you can leave your luggage with the luggage folks up front. There's a person that Natalie mentioned that you could ask for, and they're familiar with Dr. Hoya's patients, and they will hold your luggage, the bulk of it, because you don't want to take it all to the hospital. It's kind of cumbersome and might get in the way. So that was on the paperwork of how to do that. So then we got up that morning. We actually had to check out of the hotel because we obviously weren't staying there for the next 2 nights. So we did that, and we got in a cab, and it took us to the Cornerstone Hospital, which was where we had our surgery. At Cornerstone, we walked in. It was real pretty, real clean, very clean. It was real clean. Did I mention that? It really kind of blew us away because we had actually heard that it was very clean, but you really can't appreciate it until you get there and look down on the floor and you see your reflection. One of the first things that happened was my son had to go to the bathroom, which is right there in the entranceway. And when I opened the door, it's like, oh my gosh, it's like they never use this. They can't possibly ever use this bathroom because it was just, there was no trash in the can. It was, everything was just pristine. It was unbelievable. So anyway, we go to the receptionist right there in front. It's very easy. They ask you your name. We gave it to her, and she handed us a clipboard. We fill out pretty much the basic information, and those forms were in English, and she spoke very good English. And she even put the television on CNN for us in English. So we felt very welcome. It wasn't an awkward feeling at all. So that was right off the bat. We filled out the paperwork. She told us that Natalie would be in shortly. This was about 20 minutes after 9. And if you hear a lot of racket, we're washing some clothes in the background. So if there's ticking or clicking, that's what that is. So Natalie did show up around 9:30, 9:45. We had just finished up our paperwork. We were sitting on the couches right outside in the reception area. And Natalie comes in, looks over our paperwork, and takes us right back to her little office she's got there in the hospital. She weighed Brooke and I and went over kind of the terms and conditions of what we signed on for the surgery, just basically going over the paperwork saying, you realize you're going to have surgery, and this is what we're going to do to you, and these are the things that could happen, these are the things we hope are going to happen, and so on and so forth. And that was very easy, probably 20-30 minutes at the most there, and then we left there to go up to the patient floor, which is on the second floor. It's a very small hospital, but very pretty, and again very clean. So once we got to the second floor, she was going to show us the rooms that were available. We had the option. We could stay in separate rooms, or we could stay in a room together. So we opted for the room together. It was a very big, spacious room. They wheeled in the second bed while we were there and brought us a hospital gown, which is the traditional blue, everybody sees what's going on in the back, hospital gown. So when I pick up part 3 of this video, we'll go even more forward and do more things in the hospital. So I'll be right back.